that he did of Joe Rogan. It's awesome. It's like all of his podcasts. Did you hit record on there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I always do, and then we
Yeah,
just
and then
sit
you-
down and chat,
that's
and then
cool.
I can edit it out.
It's like all of his podcasts got the chimp and the aliens and nuclear stuff, and I don't know. He's just good.
That's cool.
His paintings, they're just, to me, I just love them.
Yeah.
Just good.
Yeah, it's way cool.
I'm not artistic at all.
I'm not either. I think it's amazing what people can create.
Yeah, and he sculpts stuff too.
Huh.
So that one's a sculpture. Just nuts.
Yeah. That's cool. That's the one you got, right?
No. Oh, that's weird. That she's calling. She's the owner of the building.
Oh. You can take it if you need to.
It would be a long phone call. So I'll text Kira that she called. Yeah.
Something that I've thought the last couple days.
That's weird. I'm not hearing you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, that's weird. That's turned up. That's turned up.
Hello?
Yeah, I got nothing. Let's see. Then I do have something for me.
Hello?
See, I didn't even hear that click in when you did it.
Hello? Hello? Nothing?
Dang it.
Are all of these supposed to be on?
Well,
Does that
that's,
matter?
yeah, I think that's been on before. They just do this.
Oh, cool. I can hear all that.
You can hear all of this. So that means you're working here, but not here.
Did we use this one before?
Uh-huh.
It was. Okay.
Yeah. I did get a different one just so we can do a few other things. Like you can edit on it.
Yeah.
And hook it into a camera. And let me, so
it seemed like I had,
you know what?
I can hear it better there through my,
Well, I just turned this up to 10.
uh-huh.
Let me turn it back down.
Yeah.
Oh, now I can hear you.
I can hear it. I can hear it in here. Yeah.
That's weird. We didn't do anything.
I don't know. Sounds good now.
Yeah, it sounds great.
But the last couple of days I was thinking, or not even the last couple of days, mainly this morning.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's digging like, all right, we got to dig to find all this information on Trump and Russia and all this stuff, and got to dig, and it's all this secret stuff. And I'm like, okay, so like with the events of this morning and the events of the last year, what are the odds?
Really quick, you should go back about a minute and I'll hit record.
Okay.
Okay. Just this
So
pre-talk is too good.
Yeah. Did you see that I did an outtake on?
No.
Because we did, what were we talking about on one of the other episodes? We were talking about something. And so I just trimmed that first 10 minutes off.
Yeah.
And then just put it as outtake 1. And
Oh,
so I
cool.
figured we could keep doing that and just
Oh,
our
yeah.
little conversations at the beginning.
Yeah.
Just do an outtake.
I love it.
So anyway, but just with so we're like with Trump, we were having to dig, like there's all of these investigations and conspiracies that he's colluding and all of this stuff, and dig. It's not how evil works. It's very apparent and on the surface. So over the last year, okay, what's happened? We've left military places very abruptly and left a lot of equipment for a lot of bad people.
Yeah.
We have cut off our energy independence. We have, which has caused energy to skyrocket, which benefits who mostly in the world?
The rich.
Russia.
Russia.
Well,
Yeah.
and that.
Yeah.
So we've crippled our military.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know how many. I was going to look up how many pieces of equipment were left in Afghanistan, but it's probably a lot. I know it's a lot. Like I heard that ISIS now has more Black Hawk helicopters than it was some countries, some of our allies. Maybe that was just rumor or whatever, or speculation. But so okay, we cripple our military to some extent and leave a region. We cut off our energy independence, which in turn makes energy skyrocket and benefits Russia.
Yeah.
Then Ukraine happens. Well, you're going to need, like, you have the financial ability to do it now because your energy prices are high for Russia to sell their oil to fund a war. Like, like it's like, okay, when evil triumphs, you don't have to like go and look for all the pieces to pick up. The pieces are pretty apparent. Like a lot of times that stuff is done right out in the face of everybody.
Yeah.
But they try to like point fingers other places.
It's just there. It's apparent. Okay. I knew they had left billions of dollars over there. I had no idea how
crazy.
much. I mean, that's a lot of money. 3,000 Humvees that are equipped with 50 cals on the top, or or the equivalent.
Yeah.
32 Mi-17 transport and gunship helicopters, 43 MD-53, which is a light helicopter, 33 Blackhawks.
Okay, so it wasn't as many Blackhawks as I thought.
But still, I mean, 33 Blackhawks. Think like you equip a small military with that. Over 1,000 grenade launchers, 73. It says machine guns, but 73. I'm sure they're like the M1s or whatever.
And I would bet,
dude, I don't know.
I would bet those are.
It's not M1s. That's like 2000. That's World War II. People are like, this guy's a freaking idiot.
Like M14s or something.
Yeah, that. C-130s. They left 3 C-130s there.
And that's what's being reported.
Yeah, okay, that's very true. Well, with a C-130, they could have put in all the grenade launchers, all the machine guns, all their grenades. They could have just taken one of those home and put a few Humvees in there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it just the dots. I'm like, okay, what would be the best case scenario for Russia to be able to start a war? Well, money to fund it, which I know they already probably have, I mean, they're a huge country. They have resources and everything anyway. But the number one thing that helps Russia or hurts Russia is energy prices, because their economy is very they're dependent on energy prices. Low prices, and it's a killer for them. High prices, and that's just makes their economy thrive.
Yeah. So interestingly, isn't that pipeline coming out of Ukraine?
And that's the thing. I don't know. I don't even dare say too much about it because I don't even know. I don't know that much about the politics over there and everything else, but I'm just going from the United States poor leadership perspective and the corruption that we all think is going on in our government.
Yeah.
Like looking over the past year, there's so many chips that have fallen that you go, well, that helped out, and that helped out, and that helped out. And we're asking if Trump is the one that's colluding with Russia. Like he's the one that took a hard stance towards all these people.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous.
It is. And now, this is what I think, but so this could be very wrong. This is right. We were energy independent under Trump.
Yep.
As soon as Biden got into office, he shut down the pipelines, and I believe he signed an executive order that had something to do with the pipeline in Ukraine. So if Russia wants independence, now they're not now I say independent, I'm talking energy independence. Yeah. They are not part of OPEC. So they're not part of any of that. They're not part of NATO, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the Ukraine, I think the Ukraine and Russia are not part of NATO.
No.
So they're about to take over a pipeline that's going to give them all the energy that they ever want. And countries that have that energy, they're the ones who become superpowers. We became a superpower because we had that, and we had the innovation, and we had all of that. we're going to take that away. They've also, and I guess to tie this into, cash calf and why we would even be talking about this, Russia's heavily invested in silver and gold.
Yeah.
They've been buying it in the droves. Now, so is China. We just don't know how much China has been buying because they don't say it. And Russia, we probably don't. If they say we bought 5 billion in gold, they probably bought 20 billion in gold.
Yeah.
So
and they mine some domestically too, which those numbers are never reported on. What the domestic production is.
Yeah, they want nothing to do with the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So neither do I, actually. I would love to see a free market currency take over and do its thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would love that to be gold. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But people can use this. So here's just what I've been doing. The last 3 weeks, I'm betting against tech companies hard. Also betting against vaccine companies. So, the two big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Betting for oil and for Trump's social media platform.
Oh yeah.
So when I say big tech, that might become big tech, but options.
Yeah.
I've been just options trading all that. Anything that has to do with the dollar, just bet against it. Anything that has to do with free speech, I'm just kidding. With Trump's thing, just been betting for it and betting for oil, and it's been good.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
yeah, it's so interesting with the oil thing, like in the dollar, like you're saying, because there's the petrodollar, right? Which back in the day, which all of these things are so wild to think about. If they can pull these kinds of things off, then they can do anything. And they could pull it off back in the day when there wasn't the technology that we have now. So how much collusion and stuff could be happening now with the technology that we have?
Absolutely.
But the petrodollar basically, the United States, and I don't even know exactly when it started, back in probably like the 20s, maybe even a little bit earlier than that. I don't know, maybe not. Was it after World War I?
Well, there's a graph that's starting in the 70s, which would make sense because that's when we came off the gold standard.
Okay, yeah. So basically the United States went to like the Saudi Arabia and some of these OPEC nations and said, hey, you can't sell any oil. You have to peg the price of oil to dollars and not sell oil in anything but US dollars.
Yeah.
Like you think about that, that's an incredible amount of power for the person that's creating the dollars. So say Russia or China wants to buy oil.
They have to do it in the dollar.
They have to do it in the dollar. Like it's an artificial demand for dollars. And so, I mean, you think about the leaders of those countries and being so crippled by that.
Yeah.
Because say you want to trade, even if you're not dealing with the United States, Russia wants to sell oil to China.
Yeah.
Well, we threaten sanctions against them if they do it in something other than the dollar.
Yeah.
And so why wouldn't you? I mean, it makes so much sense. Why wouldn't you try to get off of that standard?
Yeah.
I try to get off that standard.
For
I
sure.
I don't hold cash.
Yeah.
I hold assets. And so, it's something that's like very, when you dive into it and you think about it, the history of it and stuff, it's like, well, of course they're going to try to. So Russia, I think, has actually been trying to come up with a way around that. Like a whatever, China's doing their digital currency. I think Russia's been trying to do some of the similar kinds of things, or we're working with using gold somehow to set up some trading things and stuff to get around the dollar.
Russia is.
Yeah, I think I can't. Or maybe that's the speculation why they've been buying so much gold is so that they can have that to use instead of a dollar or something. I don't know.
It's kind of crappy to sit back too and be like, oh yeah, we should be doing that. You're watching this dictator country do it. But people do need to know there is a very, very large difference between digital currencies and cryptocurrencies. Because people right now, a lot of people are equating it the same. They hear digital currency, they think cryptocurrency, but it's very different. Bitcoin, Cardano, Ethereum, those are blockchain based. So you can transfer to me and it's on the blockchain. It's very transparent and fixed supply. A digital dollar or a digital yen or a digital Russia, whatever they want to do, doesn't necessarily mean blockchain. It means it's just digital, kind of like our dollar already.
Yeah,
Yes,
we already have a digital currency.
we have cash, but I don't know what the number is, but we have very little actual physical cash compared to what we have digitally.
Mhm.
And when the Federal Reserve prints money, quote, prints money for the treasury, they're just typing zeros into the computer and hitting enter.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, all of that exists, and we never have inflation. It's really interesting. You add to the supply, and no, I'm just just messing, because inflation's nuts.
Yeah.
It is nuts right now. It is so, and not to just bring this into all sadness and stuff, but talking to someone today who their brother works for a major wholesaler, they can't buy product.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, we've got it on the shelves now. We won't after it's off the shelves.
Yeah.
We're in a weird place.
Well, I've been, working on some projects and buying pipe and electrical wire. And, it's the price is over the last year for PVC type stuff. I mean, it's 3 to 4 times what it used to be, and
that's
and
inflation.
Like, well, it's interesting too to think about. So, with the Russia thing or whatever, say in the past, they've had to use dollars to buy oil or whatever.
Yeah.
So they've had to hold some dollars, like it's forced them to hold them. Well, those dollars are out there. Say that they do come up with a system where they all of a sudden, we force some sanctions on them because they're invading Ukraine or whatever. And they say, fine, we're not going to use dollars anymore. We're going to start trading gold for oil or whatever.
Yeah.
What are they going to do with those dollars? They're going to dump them.
They're going to dump them. And when something's dumped like that, what happens to its value?
And then, it's just kind of a whole, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, like, I think we're living in
other
the last
countries. Other countries look at that and go, "Oh, well, if they can do it, then we can do it."
Absolutely, and we're probably living in the last days of the dollar.
Yeah, I think so, probably. With the and it's getting attacked on two sides. It's getting attacked because the Federal Reserve is printing an unlimited amount anyway. Plus, you have more of those from other countries coming into circulation too, possibly. Coming back to the United States. We've been the beneficiaries of it for a long time because we've sent worthless paper over to other countries and they've sent us refrigerators and gold and oil and all this stuff. Well, once the cat is out of the bag that those are worthless, they ain't going to send us their stuff anymore.
Yeah, for sure. They're going to want that silver. They're going to want that gold.
Mm-hmm.
And, right now, an ounce of silver is $23. Maybe you buy some because, it's like, well, how could buying $1,000 worth of silver, how could it, help me in the future? Well, that $1,000, that actually might be really, might buy a house in the future.
Yeah.
When you're actually talking hard assets, silver, gold, I believe cryptocurrencies, real estate, those real things. And people are like, wait, cryptocurrency is not real. In my mind, it's real. Mm-hmm. And that's actually part of what makes it valuable. Mm-hmm. In my mind, it's real. And in millions of other people's minds, it's real. And fixed supply, blockchain, transparent transactions, all of that. And then something even further is privacy coins. People are tired of people are tired of governments being in their crap. Mm-hmm. So privacy coins keep us out of that. Monero and Zcash. Mm-hmm. You and I can transact. It's like, hey, you bought me a soda with $1 and I'm going to pay you back in Monero. And they're like, well, what was this $1.50 transaction? Like that nefarious transaction that he paid me back in a soda. But that kind of stuff, I think the value is going to go way up.
Yeah.
And so if you got some extra money, and my advice, which is not financial advice, this is all like, just my opinion and comedy. It's take that extra money and put it in silver, gold, and start a business.
Yeah.
Get ahead of all this stuff. We're not too late. This kind of stuff is going to happen, and it's happened forever. It's history, it's present, and it's future. This stuff's going to happen. We just need to be aware of the current events, and then we need to shift and transfer. I had never sold, or I had never bought put options in the past, just because everything was going up. Mm-hmm. Well, now I look at it and I go, well, everything's kind of going down, and we know it is. So my strategy has been look for companies that just went way up, like 50%, But if everything is going down, but they went up 50%, and then I want to look into the company, like, what are they? Because if they're a good company, I don't want to bet against them.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not, in my mind, a good company, they went up 50%, buy some options, but, get ahead of the curve.
Mm-hmm.
Start a business, buy some silver, buy some gold, buy some cryptocurrency.
Educate yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's, and though, like traditionally looking at gold, and this kind of brings us right into cash calf and what we're trying to help people and spread the word about here. But, gold and silver and some of those things really keep up with inflation.
Yeah.
So like your $1,000 example, you invest $1,000 today. Well, if you would have had $1,000 in the US dollar, just in your savings account, 10 years from now, it would probably buy nothing, a fraction of what it would today. If you put it in silver or gold or something, historically, it's kept up with inflation, so $1,000 of value today, it's going to buy that equivalent amount of value, not $1,000 worth, but what those goods and services would be in the future. So that's a good thing to do. And I like to do that too, and hold assets that will keep up with inflation. The way we get ahead is, to me, the way that I kind of look at it is by starting a business.
Yeah.
Because we have ways that we can add value to things that way outpace inflation, and keep up with inflation too, because the goods and services that we're selling get to keep up with inflation. But then we get to add our own creativity and our own time and our own talent to it that makes it way more valuable than even inflation, because that's ultimately, that's the goal, is to surpass inflation so that we can raise our standard of living.
Yeah.
By growing a business and whatever. And you look at a lot of jobs, talking about inflation, they're not keeping up. They're not even doing what gold and silver are doing. They're not even keeping up.
And they can't.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. That's the scary part.
And so it's kind of, to me, and this isn't all jobs. We aren't bagging on all jobs.
No, not at all.
But for the majority of jobs, those cost of living expenses are not keeping up with inflation. So you're actually losing the battle.
Yeah.
With gold and silver and assets that are keeping track with inflation, you're at least staying even.
Yeah.
Starting a business and doing that. And I say starting a business, but that could be progressing in a job as well, or
absolutely.
a career as well, getting more education, getting more responsibility and that kind of stuff. That can outpace inflation too. But, starting a business, growing a business, then we're on the winning side of it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's important.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a really large business. Those little side hustles, they add up, those teenage kids that have Instagram accounts with 10,000 followers and they're doing 2 posts a week and making an extra $5,000 a year, and they're a teenager.
Yeah. That's
big if you know the right places to put it. If you go spend it on the newest, latest, greatest iPhone or whatever, but you could have taken that $1,000 and invested it in something. It ends up really big. I wanted to just say, for that example, the example that you had about inflation, just to kind of conceptualize it in people's minds. An ounce of gold in like the Roman times would buy someone, and I don't remember where I heard this, but would buy like a nice tunic and clothing and like your base layer and your tunic and your sandals. Today, an ounce of gold, which would be almost $2,000, would buy you a really nice suit and shoes and a tie and all of that. So when you look at just what the gold value was then versus now, it's the same, just like you were saying. But if you were to put like a dollar value on it, well, obviously the dollar didn't even exist. Now go back to when you could buy 1-cent candies.
Yeah.
There's no such thing anymore. You don't go buy 1-cent candies anymore or anywhere. Your grandparents' house cost them $30,000 and they built it brand new.
Yeah.
Today, 30,000, that's hilarious. That's what your heating and air conditioning is going to cost you.
Right.
So
I've heard that example too with a Colt Peacemaker.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like back in the whenever you could buy one for like $20, and that's about what an ounce of gold was.
Yeah.
And now they're 1,500 or 1,800 or something like that.
Yeah.
Right in line kind of with an ounce of gold, give or take. So it's kind of cool.
That is
which
cool.
makes me kind of go, I want to start collecting coal.
Oh,
You
no.
know what I mean?
You know what? There's something about collectibles.
Yeah.
I love silver and gold. I love every month just getting the I do the gold and silver subscription.
Yeah.
I love getting it, but we've got a buddy who is into collectible coins. Their values they raise much, much quicker than the actual silver itself. My kid's into Pokemon right now. I think we've talked about that.
Yeah.
The kid, he comes home yesterday. He's like, I made $20 on my Pokemon cards today. He's at school, like, trading Pokemon cards. And he even sent me a coin today. It was whatever president it was from in 1817, 1809 to 1817, 1812. Anyways, whatever president that was, some coin. He's like, what do you think this is worth? My goodness,
Wheeler
man.
and a dealer.
I know. But collectibles. So that coin that he sent me, that's a collectible. I looked it up online. It's only worth $5. But I'm like, dude, that's pretty sweet.
Still back in the day,
Yeah.
It was probably 5 cents.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And if you can trade a Pokemon card for it that's worth 15 cents and it, there's value transfer there. That kid wants a Pokemon card and he wants a collectible coin.
Yeah.
There's all this stuff. These collectibles can be really older guns, knives. We've got that there's a knife over there by that coyote deal. It was a trapper's knife. If you found that laying out somewhere, it's like, well, this is worthless. Well, that's worth $45 just, because it was actually used by a trapper here in this area. Back in the day. It's just funny, like things that don't seem like they'd have any value. The value's going way up because scarcity.
Yeah. Well, and I think the cool thing about that is diversify.
Yes.
Diversify, buy some gold and silver, buy some crypto, find some antiques that you're really into and you want to learn about. And like I have that Gregory Manarino that I is on YouTube. I listen to him from time to time. He collects antique musical instruments, I think.
Interesting.
And he actually refers to it as a diversification in his investments. So the cool thing about that is you're getting some joy and pleasure out of owning those things because you're into it. But there's also some monetary and investment value there too. Yeah. So it's kind of cool.
That is cool. And, and you look at highly, I'm thinking like the rich, they're buying Picassos and
sports, like exotic cars.
Even that Kevin O'Leary guy, he's big into watches.
Oh yeah.
Like there's a huge watch market. If he owns a watch that there's only 3 of them that exist and it's worth $20 million or whatever, things that we'd be like, I can't buy a $20 million watch. Well, that's an investment for him. Can we buy a $20 million property? Well, we could figure out how to find the money for that. Well, he figured out how to find the money for a $20 million watch, and his watch might actually go up more in value than the property.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's cool. So many ways to make money.
So this actually reminds me exactly of the story that we were kind of going to talk about today.
Yeah.
So it's about that Jocko podcast. And one of the things when we were talking about that, one of the things that he talks about
really quick, who is it?
So I was going to look up the number too. So the guy's name is Eli Crane. I think that's right. He's an ex-Navy SEAL, and it is Jocko 320.
Okay.
Counterattack the problems. Something. Anyway, around you and solve them.
Okay.
So
problems around you and solve them.
Yeah, counteract the problems around you.
Counteract. Okay.
So, but one thing that he says in there, and this is kind of in the middle, but he gives an example of reading Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And part of the thing that really stood out to him in that book was that the rich teach their kids to buy assets. Yeah. And the poor teach their kids to buy liabilities. So just like that, instead of buying, maybe a really cool toy, you buy some Bitcoin or you buy a gold coin or something like that, something that's not easily spent and something that can be, saved for later or whatever and go up in value in the meantime. But so this story, so I loved it. I've listened to it twice because I feel like it's the epitome of entrepreneurship and kind of the ups and downs and the roller coaster that entrepreneurship is. And kind of, he even talks about some of the emotions in there of what he's feeling at the time and that kind of thing. But basically kind of his background, and everybody go listen to it. If you want to listen to, so all of it's good. I think it's about 3 hours long, but the business part of it starts at like an hour 30 in, and it's really good. But so he's a Navy SEAL, and actually kind of describes himself as not really being that accomplished, mediocre in school and that kind of stuff. And just didn't really have any direction in life or anything like that. And decided after 9/11 that he wanted to go and be a Navy SEAL. Did that, but in the meantime, through that process, failed a whole bunch. And, it seems like we think about some of those guys and they just, rock it, and they just blaze right through, SEAL training or whatever. And so it's like, oh, they're just studs. Well, this guy's a little bit different. He's like, I failed entrance exams or whatever it was along the way, but just persisted through that.
Yeah.
And ended up going through, into the SEAL teams, went to Iraq, I think it was, and not to blaze over his military stuff, because I mean, it's awesome service and we appreciate that. But his business stuff was just so good. But so he's in the SEAL teams and decides that's not the lifestyle he wants for his family. He had a couple of kids and wanted to, eventually be out and figure out how he was going to make ends meet afterwards.
Yeah.
And so he has this idea come to him that is like he had been given it's like a dummy 50 caliber round that had been turned into a bottle opener. And he's like, I could make that so much cooler. And so he ends up like, he tells this whole story, and it's so great because like he had one, that was like generic. He'd got somebody had given it to him as a gift, but he's like trying to recreate it, whatever, and messing around with it. And he's talking about how he's in his garage just messing around with a Dremel tool and trying to cut these things, and I'm just envisioning this because I've done the same thing in a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
And found a way to sell them on Etsy and started selling these things. And he's like, it was the dumbest thing. Like he totally admits that. Like when people would ask me, what are you going to do when you get out of the military? And he's like, I'm going to sell bottle openers.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
And I feel like I'm that way with every business idea that I have. I don't know about you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's like, we're going to do we're going to do this thing. And people are just like,
okay, sure you are.
What the freak are you talking about? And so anyway, so he ends up doing it. And he said the first ones just looked like crap, but they were still wildly popular. And so he's selling all of these things. And I thought about that too. Like when people when people think about starting a business or owning a business, the problem is we look at people that have been in business for a long time.
Yeah.
And they're very dialed. But we don't see the 10 years earlier or the 5 years earlier when it was just a crapshoot.
Yeah. Those overnight successes took 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and I think about that a lot with even the businesses we're doing is just, I'm like, man, I'm not organized, or, that person over there looks like they're doing this so much better. And really we have no idea of knowing.
Exactly.
And behind the scenes, it probably looks like a crapshoot anyway.
Yeah.
Even the businesses that look like they're put together and successful.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times people look at that and are afraid of that because they don't think that they're all put together at the beginning.
Yeah.
And the moral is you don't have to be.
I know it's actually interesting when, we'll get managers or kind of newer employees, and they're like, okay, so where's it written? Like, what do I do? Like, well, all the basics are written down, but if there's a problem, that's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like part of your job now is to solve that. And it's a small business because, we're pretty small in relation to other places. Well, they now get to figure all that out. And that's actually really weird for people because they're like, well, but I worked at Applebee's, and everything was written down, like all my procedures. I'm like, oh, you're helping create that right now because we don't know.
Yeah.
So it's fun. It's exciting. So he started in on the Dremels. Oh, by the way, those are collectibles now.
Oh, I'm sure.
Can you imagine getting one?
So he said that because Jocko was like, because what he would do is he would cut it out, and then he eventually figured out that he could make like a kind of a jig.
Oh, nice.
And so he wasn't freehanding them or like outlining them with a marker. He had a jig that he could trace real quick. So I love that too, because over time it started out real crude, and then he started perfecting his system.
Yeah.
And he said, well, when I began, it was taking me like 25 minutes even to just draw the lines on the thing and cut it out. Well, then he got it down to where he could do it even quicker,
That's awesome.
And so, but he talks about that, how he, and the first ones were just spray painted, and then he would slap a sticker on them, and that was it. And Jocko's like, I want one of those ones that's got all the jagged cuts in them and everything,
Yep.
And so it's real cool. Like the whole story, they continually improve their process, but like he's just over and over, like he's just way humble about it.
Yeah.
Like over and over again, he's just like, I had no idea. Like I had no clue what was going on or, how to do it. I just kept solving the problems moving forward. And he even talks about faith and that he had no idea how he was going to provide for his family when he got out of the military.
Yeah.
So he was there was that element of faith and just saying, hey, God, help me figure out what it would do. And so they're like, you're going to sell bottle openers, beer bottle openers.
He's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Did I ask the right person?
But just, and I felt that all along. I still do, that element of faith, I mean, who knows if my business is going to be successful tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's just that element of faith that you got to kind of move forward and figure it out. Yeah. And it's really hard in the beginning because you got to move forward and figure it out starting from zero a lot of times.
Absolutely.
Well,
something important to know here, and with what we're talking about, when we say, we feel unorganized, and maybe that other person is more organized, but then once you dig into that other person, you find out they feel unorganized and they have a lot to learn. Just know too, that's your boss. That's the business that you're working for. A lot of times there's uncertainty and we never feel it as employees.
Mm-hmm.
So as a business owner, it's scary because you're in charge of your own destiny. Well, at a job, and like I said, and like you said in the beginning, we don't demonize it. We're just at a place where, we moved from a job to business. And so,
and we get a lot of people asking us how to do that. That's kind of where this comes from.
The whole idea with this is to help people start small business. So, so we're going to be biased towards business. In that job, you don't know what's going on in the background. So when we go, we might not have a business tomorrow. You might not have a job tomorrow. And that's just how it is.
Yep.
Even in what looks like the best industries out there, look at banking in 2008. Man, they were raking it in. People were so excited. The next day, no job. I know a guy, super great guy, was doing some tech stuff for a company out of Utah, and they had layoffs because the business just wasn't growing, but it looked like a business that was just going to keep going. He's part of the layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to be prepared for that kind of thing and know, hey, you know what? That didn't work out. It's okay. I can go start my own thing.
Yeah.
Be in charge of your own destiny.
Yeah. And even injury, you could throw your back out and not be able to lift the cot into the ambulance anymore.
Yeah.
Or, there's just so many things that we can't see.
Yeah.
And there's just as much risk. We've talked about risk before on a podcast. There's just as much risk in a job not working out as there is a business not working out.
Yeah.
We just seem to hear about the business failures more. Or something.
Absolutely.
It's kind of silly.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so this the bottle it's just guy. Really good. Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I was thinking through this too, I actually listened to it twice.
Yeah.
And I'm going, okay, this guy so he started out, he keeps progressing, started out in like his garage or something, which is there again, everybody, a lot of times when we look at businesses, it's like, oh, well, I don't have a fancy office and a fancy building or money to afford that to start a business. That business didn't start in the fancy office.
Exactly.
That business started in the guy's spare bedroom, in the garage, in whatever it is. That's where that business started,
Yeah.
And so that's what he did too. He started, and he just started growing it. Within 6 months, he was doing like 7,500 a month, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then a year later, he was doing, I think, like 80 grand a month.
It's so cool.
With bottle openers. And to me, that's the biggest takeaway, I think, from the story is he started a business making bottle openers.
Yeah.
So anybody that wants to start any kind of business, like we've said all along, like there's a niche out there for anybody.
Absolutely.
If you are, obviously this guy's passionate about bottle openers.
Yeah. He probably just likes a good beer.
Yeah. Well, that's it,
Yeah.
And like the numbers that he's saying that his business has grown to is like, I'm like, okay, how can you do $5 million a year in bottle openers?
Yeah.
A $20 bottle opener.
Yeah.
But there's markets out there that we don't even know exist.
Yep.
Or can fathom. And it's just finding the person that's got the right creativity and the right view and kind of to make that happen.
And that bottle opener is their first sale. So they go, hey, I want that bottle opener. It's really cool. It's a 50 cal. Well, then they're on a mailing list and he goes, hey, we got t-shirts now. I'm like, sweet, I don't know if this is the real story, but I would imagine it is.
Yeah, they got a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah. And then they go, hey, throw stickers out in all those orders because stickers are cheap. Well, then all of a sudden it's branded somewhere and someone's wearing a t-shirt and they've got bottle openers with a 50 cal. Well, now they've got keychains with a 5.56 and I don't know.
Yeah.
But just from
exactly
a branding standpoint, you started off with a bottle opener and now you're a multi-million-dollar brand. That you're a brand, you're not a product.
Yep.
And that's the key to all of this is if, you go out and you start selling ice cream. Well, anyone can sell ice cream, but are you putting the peach ring on the top?
Yeah.
Are you changing just a little bit to get people excited and add that little bit extra value? Are you looking at it from a branding standpoint and building an entire company? That's where we need to be looking. That's exciting because you can do it with anything.
Yeah, anything. So think about, because we, a couple episodes ago, we walked through kind of a niche market idea. So think about how niche this is. Okay.
It doesn't get more niche.
Yeah. So who are we? This is primarily going to be marketed towards guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So guys that like bullets. Okay. So I'm thinking military, law enforcement, that kind of stuff, firefighters, even, guys that like to hunt or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, you're even niching it down more into different sizes of them or different, it's
if you say 50 cal to an average person at Whole Foods, they're going to have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You and I say 50 cal and they're like, sweet, that's big.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, and it probably, so think of all the people that they're excluding too, because we don't want to pander to everybody in our business. We want to be specialized. And so there is obviously some women that are buying bottle breachers.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's great. We're not sexist against women because they're not buying bottle breachers.
Yeah.
But by and large, that market is not there. So
bottle breachers is what they're called.
That's what it's called.
Dude, that's awesome. That's so great.
Yeah.
Bottle breachers. Honestly, the women are probably buying the biggest ones. They're just like, they're flexing on everybody.
Well, and they're buying them and then they're giving them as gifts to their husbands and boyfriends and whatever, but they're not the ones that are actually using and consuming the product.
Yep.
So you've just wiped out 50%, you've just taken away 50% of the market if you're trying to appeal to everybody. Well, then, that kind of person that's looking for something that's a bullet, there's some guys that aren't going to touch something that looks like a bullet. Are you then turning away another 30 or 40% of the guy population? I hope it's not that big, but
today it probably is. Yeah.
So then, and then even guys that are okay with bullets and like that kind of stuff, there's probably 10 or 20% that, I'd never heard of them. So I'm not, it's not a market that I'm way into. So then you get down to it and you're like, man, they're probably just marketing to 20 or 30% of the population, if that.
Honestly,
probably
if
less,
that.
probably
Yep.
like 5 or 10.
Yep.
And so, and it's a multi-million-dollar business.
But what makes that possible is now he knows exactly who to market to.
Yeah.
If you have, let's say, just a spatula, good luck marketing a spatula.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you market it to? But bottle breachers, you know exactly who to market that to.
Yeah.
That's the key right there.
Yeah.
That is the key. There's a book called 12 Months to $1 Million. It's a good book. And he talks about who are you even selling to? Find out who, then build your product.
Yeah.
For me, if I were to build something, it is essentially to myself because I know what I buy and when I buy it and why I buy it. So it's really easy to say, okay, well, market to myself. Okay, now what products? Figure that out. Well, this guy, in a roundabout way, he might have not consciously been thinking, who's my market? Well, his market's him.
Well, and he kind of talks about that a little bit because he like built a couple of them and then took them into work.
Oh, awesome.
And everybody's like, dude, that is freaking sweet. I want 5 of them for all my buddies, know? And like, so he did, he
awesome.
built, but it was just the guy, he was exactly marketing to himself because that's who he was hanging around and showing it off to. Right.
Yeah.
And so, it's just, there's so many lessons in that story. I love it.
Yeah, that's cool. I like what you just said too about who you're hanging around. A lot of people are like, well, what business? What business? And they're asking around. Well, I don't know. What do you love? You figure that out. This guy probably loves all the different types of bullets and all the different types of beers. Yeah. Well, now all of a sudden, you mix those together. Yeah. It's passion.
Well, or they're complaining about not having something.
True.
Like the Rexburg page.
Yeah.
How people get on there and complain about like, there isn't such and such ice cream stand. And it's like, start one.
I know. I rarely comment on anything, but a lot of times on those ones, I go, this sounds like a great opportunity for you to open one.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I can't. There we go.
Yeah. I don't have the money for that.
Yeah. The same excuse that we've all had, that we've all been through, that we've all thought about. No, you want it. Go out and start it.
Yeah. Yeah. And people don't realize when they're complaining, they're giving themselves an idea. Like think about what you're complaining about and then solve that problem because you're probably not the only one that wants that.
I wish this existed. Oh, do you now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sounds like a great market.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. So anyway, I think the other big takeaway I had from that story, which I can relate to as well in all of our businesses, was he decided he was going to go on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And so he went on and pitched it onto Shark Tank. And he said like at the time they were making like 135 bottle breachers a day.
Yeah.
And they went on and pitched it to Shark Tank, which there's a lesson in that you gotta, any kind of opportunity that you can find, take advantage of it. If it's pitching at a conference or pitching at Shark Tank or whatever, like find ways for you to get exposure and to go out and pitch your product. But so they were building like 135 of these bottle breachers a day. The Shark Tank episode airs, which there's kind of a whole story behind all of that. But the next day they wake up and there's like orders for 60,000 bottle breachers. Oh my
goodness.
And like their website crashed and they like were redirecting people to Etsy and all of this stuff. And so he said it was just a nightmare.
Yeah.
People were getting pissed off. People were like, I think one of his investors was Mark Cuban. So people were finding Mark Cuban's email and like emailing him and being like, dude, this company's a piece of crap. I can't believe that you would back this company. So then Mark Cuban's emailing him like, you got to get this stuff going. And he's like, but we just had to keep moving forward and figure it out. And it took a long, and that's, I feel like that's common in business. There's going to be problems that come up like that and you can't just quit. Yeah. You got to just figure out how to make it work, even though it's stressful at the time, and you just keep moving forward, and
it's a progression. You get there and you learn, we'll hire new people. And in the beginning, things are just some things can be such a big deal. They're like, oh, there's this. And I hear it. And I'm like, oh, that's not a big deal at all.
Yeah.
You know, the last few days I've been building into this podcast room a little bit, and there have been a few little issues, and they pop up, and they're really big deals to the people who just started, which are all amazing people, by the way.
Yeah.
They're really big deals to them. And I'm like, you know, that's actually not that big of a deal. You don't have to worry about it that much. This is going to work out. I promise. Everything's good.
Yeah.
And it will work out. You just have to be aware of a problem and then just start working towards fixing it. And that right there, it sums up everything in all of our lives. You know, you're having trouble with money. Okay. Well, now you know the problem. Now work towards fixing it. It'll probably be fixed. Having trouble in a relationship. Well, you know the problem. Now you can start working towards fixing it.
Yeah.
That's it. Same in business, everything.
And problems just get bigger.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
we solved one thing that was a big deal at the time, and then we move on. Well, things of that level aren't that big of a deal anymore. And so, you know, we grow into that. You know, looking back 5 years, the problems that I was worried about 5 years ago are pretty silly now.
Yeah.
You know, and so even like this, and it's this example in his business, you know, where they had all these orders that they couldn't fill. Well, the next time that happens, he probably is like, oh, it's not a big deal. We'll buy some more equipment and whatever. Yep. And you just move forward, you know, and it's not that big of a deal. Yeah. So, I mean, it's cool.
That is cool. And you're definitely going to have customers that are going to get mad at things. But I ordered a shirt a few months ago, and a couple months after I was like, that's weird. I haven't seen that shirt, but I didn't care. Like, that's just kind of who I am. I just don't really care about that stuff. Well, then I finally get the shirt in the mail, and there's a handwritten note. I am so sorry that this took us so long. We ran out of these shirts really quickly, blah, 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 signed. Like, they took time to sign that for one shirt. Yeah. I'm buying from them again.
Yeah.
Like, they really care about their customer, or they really care about making up for the huge mistake of selling shirts that they never even had. I don't care.
Well, and they just created value. They just made you even more of a customer than if you would have just got the shirt on time. Yeah. We can use problems to our advantage.
Absolutely.
And how business is pretty run of the mill when you do what people expect. Yeah. You know, you kind of get run of the mill results. You know, oh yeah, I bought that. Da, 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 da. When there's a problem and you rise to that occasion and you fix it in a manner that goes above and beyond, people are like, just like you said, I am doing business with them again.
Yeah.
You know, it sticks out in their mind.
A great book on that subject is How to Win Friends and Influence People. It works for personal relationships. It works for business. My wife is so good at it. Someone will call. They're like, hey, I'm so mad about this. She goes, oh, I would be so mad about that too. I would be furious. And they're like, well, I mean, I'm not that mad. No, but you should be. We messed up. Like, we really messed up on this. You should be mad. You know what? Let me do this for you. She just de-escalated the whole situation and turned them into more of a customer. Hey, we did mess up, and owning it. You know, hey, we did mess up. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry that you're mad, because I might be mad too in that same situation.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that person's like, oh, I'm talking to real people. I'm talking to people who understand. I might even be friends with that kind of person in the future. Huh, I guess we'll go back. That's cool. Or you could just shut them down, and then they're going to go talk to a lot of people and tell them how bad you did.
Yeah.
If in a kind of a rule in business is, if there's a happy customer, they're going to go tell someone. If there's an unhappy customer, they're going to go tell everyone.
Yeah. Well, and you feel better yourself coming out of that situation and effectively, you know, like, it builds some confidence.
Yeah.
You come away from somebody that's just fighting mad maybe or whatever, and you turn them around and make them even buy into your business more. How cool is that?
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. And we can inwardly look, like, what happens when someone cuts you off in traffic? You know, we can kind of see how we're going to react in those situations. Someone tells you that you have a crappy business. You're like, how am I going to react to that? Well, I don't know. Get cut off in traffic and see how you react to that person.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they're on their way to the hospital. Maybe they have a baby in the car that's sick. Who knows? Awesome. It's fun. Like, this business stuff, there's kind of a reason why we're doing this. It gets us excited and hyped because you can change generations.
For sure.
You can do everything. You can do anything and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fun.
One other thing that he talked about in here was they got to a point to where they needed some new equipment for their business. And so, you know, and this goes right into another principle that we talk about with cash cap all the time, but he had kind of a savings account that he'd got, but he's like, I just really don't feel good about that. You know, that's kind of my family savings account and backup, whatever. And so he decided, I think he needed to, well, this was a different point, but a different time, but I think he was going to buy a laser engraver or something so he could brand all of his products. And he decided to buy to sell his motorcycle.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, that was such a huge sacrifice because, you know, he's living at San Diego at the time and all this stuff. And he's like, it's the best place in the world to ride a motorcycle. But he ended up selling his motorcycle and sacrificing that to be able to buy the equipment he needed so he could laser engrave it. And
That's
how
awesome.
that, you know, even that he could see a result in his business. You know, and so just thinking about that sacrifice thing too, like none of this is easy.
Yeah, for sure.
There's some discomfort and some learning and maybe some things that you have to sell or some things you have to give up in order to do it. But, you know, sacrificing short-term things to have long-term success is always worth it, I think.
And who's going to succeed? The guy who believes in himself enough to sell a motorcycle to fund a business, or the guy who's like, I might never get that motorcycle back. Yeah. I'm going to bet on the first guy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, you know, and I've had tons of examples, you know, all along in our businesses where, you know, we've had to sacrifice some things and give up some things so that we can start things down the road. And so I think that that's an important perspective to look at as well is, you know, what do I need to be able to live and survive? And then, you know, if you're trying to figure out how to get money for a business, or you're trying to figure out, you know, some time where you can fit this stuff in, is just knowing that it does take sacrifice. It's not something that's easily stepped into. Yeah. You know, and it's more valuable when there's sacrifice there too. We appreciate it more.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, people can look into the law of sacrifice. I mean, there's some natural law. I don't know how all these natural laws work and exist, but well, maybe I know how they exist. I'm pretty sure I know. But you know how they work. It's really interesting just how sacrificing something can bring you more. Yeah. You know, it's the same with giving. There's some natural law that if you give, you get back in equal to or more than you've given. Might not be monetary, but you're going to get it back somehow, some way. It's just cool. Yeah. And then once you're in that position where you can, you know, make it happen. It might be an uncomfortable situation, like you just said, but doesn't mean it's not going to be better in the future. Yeah. The guy had a motorcycle and maybe he'll never get it back, or now he can buy any motorcycle he wants. Yep. And as many as he wants. Yep. And probably have more time to ride it than he had before. Exactly. You know, yeah, I mean, just, and faith. I think faith, if there's one theme that I've always felt through all of our business stuff, it's faith. Yeah. You know, and he talks about that too. They actually had I think it was after the Shark Tank thing, they had to, in order to ramp that up, they had to spend like all of their money to get more equipment, like all the money they had. And he like specifically says his wife came to him and was like, if we don't make this work, we won't make payroll. Yeah. You know, and they just had to, you know, there again, he was a pretty well-developed business at that time, but you still get in spots where you have to make tough decisions and decisions that take faith, you know, and just kind of move forward with it. So that's so I don't know. It was good. I just thought that it was the epitome of what cash calf is. Yeah. And that philosophy, you know, where we encourage people to have an idea, add value to that idea, add value to people, have faith along the way, you know, and just believe in a better future and making it work for yourself and being free and sovereign and doing those things, you know, making your own choices. And yeah, anyway, it was cool. I really liked the story and I think it went right along with what we're doing. I like that. I'll go listen to it. So you said it's episode 320?
3. I don't know.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. I can't
People
remember.
just go look it
That's
up.
good. But anyway.
Yeah, I'll go listen to it. So yeah, people should listen to that and read How to Win
320.
Friends.
Yeah, you're
320.
right. 320. Yeah.
And then, yeah, this is great. I appreciate
Cool.
the talk today.
Yeah.
It was good. So people can, they can get some gold and some silver, some cryptocurrency.
That's right.
They can go listen to that podcast and then just know that everything's possible. If someone can turn a bottle opener into a multi-million-dollar business, you can do probably any business that you do.
I love it.
Yeah.
So cool.
It is cool.
So, hey, great work on this room, by the way.
Thanks.
This is awesome.
Yeah,
I love it.
It got hot in here sometimes, so we had to do that, and then I just played a little bit. And,
it looks great.
I mean, to have
cool.
Tommy Boy in the background, it's important, and then that Greg Overton Indian art will be over there, and we can change it up. We can make people think that we're in different places at different times, even though this room is 9 by 9.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Looks great. Good job.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Well, thanks for today, and we'll chat soon.
Okay, sounds good.
Sweet.
Right on.
Yeah, that's such a cool story. I love it.
It was good. He talks about some like Christian stuff in there too, where he was David's the one that told me about the podcast. I didn't even
lately. It's cool that he's doing all that.
He's like, you need to listen to this. And I was like, right. Like, cause I don't listen to a lot of Jocko. I'm like, whatever, I'll listen to it. I went and listened to it and I'm like, dang, man, that's the best thing I've listened to in a while. But anyway.
Oh, we can chat business for a bit if you want. I was just gonna pull this
okay.
up. If you want, if you have time. If not, it's all good.
Yep.
So yeah, whenever I sent that to you, I had just been writing stuff down of little ideas, and I'm like maybe 20 pages into that book, just writing it. I mean, I'm not a writer, so it's
me neither. But nobody really that writes says that they're a writer.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I've never done this. I've got to connect to that with this computer. But yeah, maybe 20-ish pages in.